Now, so one say, and they say, on the coffee, especially the first generation for no. First generation, Ben or how no the uncle so be coffee. Into your tea hanging on, near see a down with fear. What down with Hakra now, Pebby, as you fear. And so they build relationship to all cultures, while they themselves have ownership of none. And in your company said third cultural kids, any third cultural adult. One more relationship will be an answer, one ownership. It doesn't matter a Juma way, you don't have ownership of the American culture. And the third cultural kid back home, as a more kind, they say, I'm an island, and at the same time, a United Nations. Or non or your island, or non or your United Nations. She said, if you are seeing now, when you be, Nanso, or you be also. Now, why is it so hard for third cultural kids to integrate, an adult to integrate? Because the word integrator, she said, O man about you or my tongue. No man work, no man yet is so mindful. No. How is it difficult? Say, Nipa Sano, I didn't think a woman to me integrity. Near the kind, so you're Ghana and now your third cultural kid and our third cultural daughter. Forever in your mind, you see yourself as a Ghanaian. Hey, and found baby, I do back you still see yourself a Ghanaian. Near to some, no. A Ghanaian who happened to be living in another place of culture. It would have found to baby who saw a Ghanaian. Their basic sense of who they are and where they belong is intact. We are is intact. Sa no what here. Hey, what the upper man on your friend is saying pass, aha. You near maybe you may be or how ya near mount pass. I mean, when I'm moving, your mount pass is sending out to me a comu. Not just what swear off, you said. Sadiana, oh, yeno, betray. Sadiana, oh, yeno. Even though by you man pepe, but still what dream, oh, you're Ghana, only time, oh, dear. Will be a hawk gun and you are who said Catani. My Ghana near America for more born after baby obedient. A horn I'll be who say, well, you're Ghana near Empire. And so person will take the problem last year. You have to understand culture. Culture, the word culture. And after you have to understand three things. Culture, number one. How do we learn from it? Number two. Anna, why is it so important? Number three, maybe cancer and your mommy and saying, now for you, the BBA choir. Near a test, and say, culture. Abrafo define culture, say, values, beliefs, system, assumptions, language, communications, any practices, and nipa bi a boom, and on your friend culture. And to what by America, huh? So no, one culture no, ne any ording, and to one also they are not able to accept you. In culture, a framework from which we interpret, we make sense of life and the world around us. And the culture, no man will make sense of the. Oh, say, I thought of here. Who will fear? Oh, why now take drums be? Then if I be bought drums be, we call no. America for be no more match you room. Who am I hearing count? Now so say, oh, bononi. And I want to take him and say, I'm only a different bisa. Oh, how was you appear? It makes sense to you, but oh, how that thing doesn't make any sense to you. And the culture is learned. Yesua culture. Rather than say yeah, instinctive behavior. And tiemu, and yes, yeah, na culture number. Usua is something cut from those around us. And any surrounding. And yesua culture. And yeah, you can say. So if culture is learned here, then I to me better culture even for years. Now see to me more culture. This is where I'm leaning to. Now, culture is passed on from one generation to another. And the other is still I better now to me and develop one culture. And yet I say, culture begins from childhood. And if it will more phrase, nipa no what it no. And to all the mountain no sa culture no and a whole building. And one was our banner on any tifino. Or Cambro for now what can she? And this I. Oh sorry, our money fufu. no one man banku, no one man Ghana aduane, wo ho no wapam Ghana atade ni bi di ahye no. O hye atade no on fere na ni jipa se wa hye, ne namfofo sere ne kura on fere, na ni je ho se o ye Ghana ni. And so they internalize it as they grow. Now for their culture no abeye nedia. Na abeye nedia. And the culture is difficult to change. Even for second and third generation people, no. Now a big change say. A nipa bi wa adwenchia bi say. Se wutu kwan ko obi krom. Now dress it to say hofo no. Now act it to say hofo no a. Ebema wa ye hofo ni bi. It's not true. What him say? Obroni bi betumi abetena Ghana. Abrofo na Wamo ba Ghana ye sociologist na mba be sunsua me ka say na go teacher bi. No kasa ti say or ye expert in Ghana that from me can say me kire no na he was baffled. Na me ka say, let me ask you, are you a Ghanaian? I said no. Now I said, do you think you know our culture very well the way you are explaining it? I said no. And I'm saying you have written what you heard but you don't know culture. Na me ba be kire mo ni ma bi ase. Enti obroni betumi abetena Ghana for several years. Adi di akrichi ene ade nanso na onim Ghana for se ne ye niema etada bi kro gina ho ne ye ka kire ne se na mfofra bansuom na ono ne nam no so na onte ase ne ye di ne ho konkonsa na onte ase enti culture wo niema bebre we learn so enti se ne American ni se kwaku fa picture bi na me de to so e wo behavior ne ade no pese me kire mo ade bi kakra fa to so mame me the idea be my name, very good. And we can see culture as a big iceberg. Some of the iceberg, I say. Iceberg here, ice be a timun. So all can ship. Now who iceberg no? And ya no kwani who abonten no ya no kwana who. Some of them say. Ya wo ice ne kase be a team form. Enti line na metwa no. Culture no echemu mienu. Culture ya wo niema mienu a Bakun the part now no and on it is outside part of the iceberg. And know your behavior, and know your words, and know your custom, and know your tradition. And to wait me see sa niema we nyina. Now so na culture no, but be a culture no internalization, integration of culture no, a peer bar no, and your beliefs. Mimi saw, what the American beliefs di. When him say young kwada no kra on beliefs no woman nyini, still they believe Ghanaian things no. So who say, values, assumptions, thought process, sanya na dwen kra akọ. Those things no, ana emma e kire culture no sanya would develop on year pa. Na matro bibi wa has said no group can be cohesive without its members sharing a basic consensus of the deeper dimensions of culture. Se yenyina culture no ne wase ho no. Se yenyina ya anye antoma, there is no way ye beka se yenyina yekita culture baako. Enti the younger generation, second and third generation na moba. Eto da bi a mo beka brofo. Utumi kan brofo kra che mo papa no ne mo maame no. Obi ho kra na mo yam ho se mo ye America ni wo ho. If you are yo, boy, hey man, now we are now 290 America, we work and things, you know, and you're the external behavior, and you're the external part of your culture. But beliefs, no, not values, no, not assumptions, no, not thought process, no, you cannot integrate culture into yourself. Okay, and to me, I'm summarizing my decision because time is not there for us. And to mimicking behavior, such as clothing styles, food preferences, does not hold the group together. We are then to me and yet say we are culture. Now you tell me say TCKs, research natural. TCKs, yani TCKs no. First, second, third generation, yeah, you know. See you move ko baby, you need voice. You need voice, and they say. TCKs, person womunya voice, they cluster in one area. What China for? Call Manhattan, a friend baby Chinatown. So, it's a bear cacrano. Ubewana America, Cabo Jose, Hoya district. Enti yeto aba China ni no be winning. So what you say? Enti they begin to have a voice and then move into the system. The second thing, omoduane. Ubehu, so Ghana restaurant, I bet you say Ghana nimbi research prove. Say Ghana be called Jill loan, papa. No, they know jollof day. Abrafuni nyina te jollof. Nanso ye ni bi no packaging it to say a restaurant. Eye leaves no ho quality sitting place. Any idea? I'm telling you, America can now be throughout the whole America. Ubenya ni pato. Research say Italians no buy no maduane no. Na half one say die ni my mind. Lasagna ni my mind. And so there no mudi. Spanish for no buy no. No mo pe o maduane. I'm say oh crofo de o maduane bon. And then Spanish food. Abrafo ni nyina edi. Enti second and third generations, some person integrate well, now you're successful. These are some of the areas. You need to think broadly about how you face the culture in order to integrate. But in America, they say you can integrate educationally, you can integrate economically, but integrating to be an American here is very hard because you have to have all these four. Somebody I say, oh, okay. I'm almost done. I mean, me introduce a program no. Enti enema church culture no. Eye niema be ye nsia. Be bia yesua culture ni fi no parent ka ho bi. O parent sani a wo tetew, o community a wotem, o school, o peers, o caregivers, akola no etara bia na Ghana ni ya nya Ghana ni hwe ye ba obehu na me ko baabi na Nigeria ni bi na ehwe no ne ba no ma no all disturb akola no in the growth process no in integration process no any sponsoring agencies ba mo man me ka sa de be mienu na afi me mfa masem no enkwa wie ye I will say we learn culture cautiously or unconsciously. Ebi o ho no wani da ho e na wusua but ebi o ho woni mpo se wusua so na o ye den na wusua on se ye nyina ye ba ye no ni ye shenta de jojo un se Ghana ni bi ba hwe ne life no so man 6 months bo sa afi de kofi na ta de na o hwe no hu se Americanized so we learn culture cautiously and unconsciously now because say parents no na why you integrated into that second culture no timu na wotete abofra nti ubehu ano na abofra ne sua o me move on from this quickly for the next picture na me de to so no na me kan eno ho asem na afi me pom because what we are going to do today is very very important signa kromano ehu wo no a wo kro no mu no wo ye third cultural kid second generation, first generation, whatever generation awo ye no. Sign na kroma no. Sania wo ye no. Ene ma kroma no ehu. Me bam cha so matemase. Sania wo ye no. Eno na ma kroma ni hu. Ye fra baako kroma ni hu baako so ye foreigner. Baako so kroma ni hu ni so ye adopted. Be chire mu. Ana baako kroma ni hu ni so ye dey hidden. And about day mirror. Immigrants, ye foreigner. Immigrant, ye adopted. Immigrant, yes, I did. I don't know, person me me film. Maybe yeah, nothing, my transit. At the appropriate time, we can expand this. But for the sake of our discussion, I think that this will highlight what we want to talk about. Enti niedi kaino, foreigner. Foreigner, I didn't know who say we a foreigner. Should I say, foreigner, no, he differs from those around them. So, who say we a foreigner? Near more who pa say, o dancing. Who you know, o dancing. Or appearance, well view, send you who are dear. Or no, Casacra, or much to me who say, oh, how we dear. Not drink crying here. Just all kind of cry. Especially, wow, buy entry, you know. And he told you to me, besides, say, how long have you been here? When did you come? No, no, dream, no. We are foreigner, until we be south, no. We are foreigner to the culture. Others, they and others know that they are foreigners. And in say they look differently and they think differently. So if you look differently and you think differently, anybody who say, oh yeah, foreigner. And let's move on. Adopted. Why no one who say, oh yeah, adopted. Adopted no, or yeah, TCK. He appears differently from members of the surrounding culture. Yes, or also, or you're different there. But they have lived there so long. Mutemi, watena krono che and immerse themselves in the culture so deeply. Or the whole culture that their behavior and their worldview have some members of the culture. They are like some members in the behavior. Any idea no? They are like some members of the culture. So any panel, one more friend say, "What adopted culture?" And they look different, but they think alike. Somebody say, "And they look different, but they think alike." Now, young koso, and why not or your friend is saying he didn't know, so no, he look alike, but he think different. Sana michre. They are TCKs. When TCKs return from their home, where they grow up in countries, to countries where they physically resemble the majority, they physically they resemble majority of them. But they think differently. Sankrofoi, what you chrono, Bibia Koso, Omo ye Bibia, Ohunwa, what the community num, Obia who's Otisa American, that's what Shane Demo. I drink a war drain. What mean to say America for no? America for no whom, sir. One more flow say, we are adopted. You are only adopting our culture. Mirror no, they say. Oh no, dear, what can I chrono say? And to what to me, send your BPA, and your Cassano Quan. So America for dance here or dances, sir. So Tana Bibia won't be a our Yanisa. Now so. Na kuma mu pa no oye Ghana ni na ho no na make us all the memo born na he the only thing I would be hu nipa ne say o se for our passport to bra so o ka say for our passport to bra e na be hu say ye wo no wo he e wo Ghana na say ne pa me ye wo no e ye Ghana ni and mani ante say we are going to discuss this all important subject na ya ton sa fre enipa abenphobia woman being papa in this subject and I'm saying woman being papa enti obenfo wodi kan okitane bachelors in informational technology onyane bachelors was Syracuse University wasan yane masters in global affairs anything you fa no okitane masters in global affairs. Now, Onyasa Masters in Global Affairs at NYU. Now, you're one of the youth leaders in the zone. And even NASDAQ, your friend saying CYP, any idea I'm talking about no other person. Let's put our hands together because I'll be taking one of these seats. Now, sorry, our youngest, Juliana Mens. Mon femme saying she ain't quite. Julie, you can take any of the seats except the black one. Now, our passion in putting things together. I'm saying you better who answer later. Ni otusu bienu ononso yoba. No fia safu yemu. Okitane iron or your nest. And I'm also saying, and this person is integrating with the American society. Hallelujah. Now, mercifully. Now, or your member or your past youth leader of this church. And when I'm talking about no other person than Miss Priscilla Ajimambadu. Ni otosomi ensano. Ni otosomi ensano ye epidemiologist. Hallelujah. Or ye epidemiologist. Now on it New York City Department of Health and a year juma. Now osan ye software or was software because or just public health and theology degrees. Now or co-op city asafo. Na owo mami no ne ba odi kan ye kwadwo ene nana entry. 2 young adults. Na ne yere ene Betty Opoku entry. Na papa no ankasa edin the Dr. Mike Opoku entry. Put your hands together as we welcome the elder to the floor. Oh, no man in conform, sir. No man in conform, sir. Yes, please put your hands together. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the last and not the least. Now, panelists here, a number back drop here. And so the last and not the least. Oh, no, or your 3rd year medical student at Cooney School of Medicine. Now, say, see, Akrano, he's taking a gap year for research. Now, or you're interested in surgery, and he's going to be a surgeon. Now, Ofino Bronx Church, yeah. I'm talking about no other person than Emmanuel Amwate Senior. Put your hands together as we welcome him. And at this time, I will switch to the next program. And as I take my seat, now Momo Bia one mic, one mic and 2 Bia home because they are going to be interacting with the church. I think you can have this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. North Bronx in the I'm saying Julie the Ota Abesraye, Adams who's Wabesraye pay. To feel at home. Sorry, a very welcoming church. P. Sana, my friend, feel at home. Senior, Doctor to be. This is your home, and to feel at home. It without much ado, no. Mama may open issue. Yang and common ye be no. You define integration, say. Sanya ye can integration, ubehu ni aye kan ho asem. Ye hu integration say a process. Processor was what members of immigrant groups, any host society, in Tikrono, any immigrants, they come to resemble one another. And known as your friend of integration. Into integration, our economic side and our socio-cultural dimension. Now, beginning with immigrant generation, now I continue with 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and other generations. And then, you per se you tin you may be ase. Now, near you per se you tin ase and say, how Ghanaian Adventists are doing in the integration continuum. So I said, you hear young Ghana for a choir, you buy a homoding our integration. Over here, now who's and Crophobi quite any change. So, young, quite ben, you be young so. Now, if you look at 1st and 2nd generation Ghanaian Adventists, you will see difference in their educational attainment. Young 1st generation for no, young, any 2nd and young people, no, say there's difference in our education. Kolani ko school pa, young so sabia, ya deba no, and one ekitaye. Ma sembisa dikai, with the ma ante Juliana Mens. Now, Juliana, research said, despite the large differences in the starting point among the 1st generation, which I say, 1st generation and back. Now here Krumanoa, now here Oma. There is a large gap. Who are 1st generation for the Yampani for any Krumano, who are Yantem. But there have been strong intergenerational progress in educational attainment. Ama, yan yabaha yetumi be school pan yankoso. Now, your woman say, 2nd generation members, they even meet or excel schooling levels of 1st generation members. Should I say, Oh yeah, second year, man, did you chinua? Anyone may chat one. They even excel. Sometimes they excel than chroma for. And no thing I mean call politics. Chroma for ni p because almost say a chroma I have one of Jew munyuma is because second generation, third generation for no, they are excelling. Now this is true for both men and women. Now, what are some of the factors? These are strong intergenerational excellency for this first and second and third generation. Now, saying as our factors, it affects immigrants. I hope so. What's my question? And your mama
there are a lot of different reasons why first generation and second generation, there's such a big gap. One of the reasons is, like you said, education. One thing is that Ghana, sometimes education is hard to come by if you don't have money. Junior high school, senior high school, now you can't go into university. Whereas in the United States, once you're done with high school, anyway, now there are scholarships, opportunities for you. Scholarships, there's loans. It allows the second generation youth to be able to go into college. Another thing is language. First generation, if you're gonna buy US now, sometimes it doesn't go well, but your children knows how to speak the language, so they understand so many things more. In terms of education, when your children go to school here now, they have their guidance counselor, so they also have a lot of guidance in helping them go to the next level. They have guidance counselors that are going to help them. Their peers also, in a way, pushes them, because as you have peers, you don't want to fall behind. Another reason is that first generation understands the importance of education. They understand that education is how you attain a higher income level, you move away from poverty. So they tend to push their children more. So most first generation, they'll always have a parent that is going to push you. If you don't do anything, at least finish school. That is always that factor in the house. We said again, financials. So because they're able to attain that financial relief to be able to attend college, it affords them better jobs. So yes, unfortunately, some first generation parents, they have the education, but those educational degrees doesn't necessarily transfer in the US. It's sometimes we know our PhD will Ghana or true taxi because our PhD and it doesn't work here. But because we're pushing the Banako College, a nursing job, a doctor job, a lawyer job, at least that they push their child to the next one because now they have that degree they need to find better lucrative job in the US.
Wow. This is a more in-depth answer. Wow, no wonder say you have that global behind you. And the panelists, Mama maybe some of that same question. Do you have any contribution to it? Say, second and third generation members, they are excelling in education. Do you have any contribution to add?
I just wanted to make a quick, I think we are saying a lot of definitions out there, but we are not explaining them.
Right.
So like I said, first generation person to say, "Obi awobaha first." In my family, I would say a first generation will be many in college, and I say wherever we find ourselves. A second generation or a third generation will be and I say I have my family, my children, by second generation. So and then a third and fourth generation. That's what we mean. I think that if you see that terms being floated out there, that's what it means.
Okay. And at the same time, you bet me at so back because first generation. So whatever you person you
I guess in this context, first generation all first. Parents, any aunties and uncles they are the first generations. Second generations, your mama and third generations.
Wonderful. Doctor, me who said now person can be.
Between who said the second generations, nearly one more twice, one to me more successful, a chair one more parents, Nene said, they have built some foundation. So this second generation and the third and on, they build on that. As first generation, we had to struggle because you don't have anybody. And you're going to school, working full time. There are some jobs but you do all this. So those come in, they don't have that same problem because there is a mommy or daddy there to at least give them the basic support.
Intimate was here, not just a can say a first generation here pay setters. Now, Oma build a support network at the second generation for. This is amazing. This is amazing. Now, person can be before one.
Dear Doctor Kana Nana Medica correct and say to say first generation for no the privilege so omuhu onim baby a ofree ba into na ebia obakrom ha na obabe wo a onim what kind of situation na ofree mu into you set some principles and some standards be ofree ho no ma wo ebia kwala na ya be wo ha no you don't have the privilege of making mistakes and I say you have to excel. Like there's no two ways about that.
Wonderful. Abusiafo, ye be ma mo kwan ti mo de ye ni say mutie wie a afin then we will interact with the panel. Into what question be save your question now. Time unti. Okay. Into time unti. Yeah, that was say panelist. Okay, question number 2 now. Me pese me toma doctor to be Emmanuel Amoatin Senior. Amoatin record o chere say younger generations, immigrant generations, second and third generation. This time, first generation here, second and third, they are able to integrate faster, at a faster rate than the first generation. Why? Why is it so? But they need education, but you can't broader integration. Second and third generation, they are able to integrate faster and also at a faster rate. What do you think?
Okay. And thank you for the question. I believe that most of the answers, the first person able also, because education is one big factor. Second and third generations, to integrate much better. So Moko school free. My friend is saying pre-K, elementary school, middle school, high school. They are able to learn the language. They meet their peers, their age mates, into inculcating and I say cooperating themselves in the society much easier as compared to first generation on Wakuni Suku Wagana. Ebia ne fefwa ne nanfofo ne omofa feku nyina na Wagana no. Like we build those relationships in area. A second point and so it's me and also chair say usually the first generation mindset say omo be bibi kakra no ma ombesan akofie enti eni so mo ye bibi a ebe too big and I say be mintimi nye me business nyina wa hanom mintimi si meja padie nyina wa hanom
because on person be invest wa have fully
sa pepe na me chere enti say o apartment bi wa hanom a e bia ne sika nyina no obesende akọ Ghana akọ yedan ana say business bi o hanom no. So this is another mindset hard to integrate second first generations into the society. I think so age a factor. So age into first generation maybe ansa no beba no wa ne anyi bia wa wo ba ko and also most in the life be 25 wa pa 25 30 be ba 40 years into as compared to a first generation on we be 12 years me 17 and I'm about hanum as compared to my father I don't know the exact age but so that is a big factor as well. I think so enkratasem a very big issue. I mean it doesn't only affect first generations. Maybe make it that clear. Say enkratasem onya ade a Oma ebaha kaneno to say bia or travel by Hanuman as in penny for no one issue. Young adults no be on my as an international student, or be on my or by a traveling be and abalo kinawaha, and then he sees he or she sees there's an opportunity out with me a progress in their life. Now be local or more hanum. These are things and so affect your progress in the society. I think that my last point, you know, me can't want to say second and third generations, you know, usually, you know, we are not trained to anticipate the responsibility. Say, yen first generation parents and as a family, you know, to inculcate in the society. And see, for example, I mean, I wouldn't say it's something that we intentionally do, but for example, say me, I don't think say in your head, you know, or doing say go school. I bet you, papa how I cabrofo nor the school. In as much as say obiya ko school bi amba pa ko adwuma me so me ko school no, in the long run and eventually we see say there's a gap between abofrano and then papa odi ko fie no, because the kid didn't anticipate say, oh, I have to help in this capacity because my parents are hindered in this regard.
Well, last point here, my because truly, you know, second generation, intentional, but ABS is someone wants to drink who ye. Because first generation, I be kun hosan or do sabre, it is still on no attacking. Even crying age, cross any and now okay, you know. To me, moving forward. But first, second, and third generation, no man move on. But intentional, according to you, no man move on. But one more ban back, first generation for no. And Kabema be beyond so first generation for no so a grown them. I make a point, baby cry. English cry na watch no cry na say computer ni idea na wo educating one. Man, you may be how bet me I am a mention of honeyma any idea. And can you see can so that's amazing point.
Yeah, that it's a point. It's a whole. I think that it opens up to a lot of discussions because and the one point who said me bofrana mi ko school. There's a lot of things on my plate. Right, and yes, maybe share me papa, and answer me mommy brofo, and answer me na me apply a juma for them. No, it would not be an intention of mine unless me parents and a bring it or draw me to that attention. Now, my second point say on the first generation standard from their viewpoint, usually normal they do not look for these opportunities. Say maybe I'm a buy, you know, a juma or koye, you know, a juma intimate buano with like upward mobility. Maybe I'm said brofo and shada and kapapa a juma de buy, you know. You see, say he or she is settled in that situation. It's hard to be quite a say, oh man, me person you say. And as I say, I think it's a two-side coin. It's a two-side coin. The first generation can move forward and say, oh, maybe I'm a me say, na me person oboami, maybe I'm a co school aba, me person oboami, which will, I think say a better way. It's a connection between the two. Say me here say boami, wako school aba no per time kakra say never boami. Say ne beya me so me komeni. But second generation, third generation, we do not. I mean, as a second generation, we do not intentionally neglect those responsibilities. We just do not anticipate them. Say we have to take those responsibilities.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think say nipa na egu ho no. Question time ba we are talking can person can be. But Dr. Mahusa will pick that one, sir. It jumping.
Yeah, niame hu so ba koni say access to resources no. Yeah, not first generation no tend to not to know. Yeah, me give me example because me back from Hano, I didn't know the difference between state schools and the private ones. And I put myself in private schools to me and loans so very heavy. Now me opportunity to go to state schools. I mean, you friend me interviews and everything, but I didn't go because I didn't know the difference. And you know, second generations, they can help the first generation by tutoring them on these available resources. I bet me so much advance.
I think so. Financial literacy. What role does it play in all this? Financial, yeah. Say, Obaku ye literate than the other, and Obaku excel than the other.
Yeah, so again, first generational, and you even mentioned, Pastor, we're taking it back home.
Okay.
And, our mind is always back home. So first generation don't necessarily invest in here. There's no investments, anything about 401k, you might not invest in a 401k, in insurance, etc. Whereas second generation, who go through life, you know about, investments, you know about financial investments, financial literacy. So sometimes the first generation, it's kind of a one-way set, right? Make money to send back home, make money to make my children go to school, but not necessarily how do I make money in the country that will continue to create generational wealth. When it comes to generational wealth, no, I don't think first generation necessarily think about it in terms of I'm here, let me make that business, let me do this within the U.S. to get that generational wealth. It's more like, me go see if you're Ghana, me go your business for Ghana, not my bana our business, no. Not understanding, you live in America, Ghana until one obi na share wide in Ghana, so you don't necessarily know say no share wide in or year for your own children. So that's the one problem. First generation, they don't think this land they can use this land for their generational wealth. They think it's all back in Ghana.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, and yes, I say, young and for you. By your so pressure be a diet so. Oh, fear no. 2 pound I have some penny to me, may see mine. Hey, I wish I was going how much then you might be. And yet, now we have talked about integration so much, lay the foundation for it as well. Now, young shadow solitary challenges and impediments are that immigrants, especially Ghanaian immigrants. I'll turn to Priscilla. What are some of the impediments, any challenges are you facing with her as Ghanaian immigrants? And Sana, you jump to the solution. Take it over.
Okay, that's a pastor. I think say kasa muni abubo some of the challenges no me brain so and all kasa no so can about the mindset say especially I say be the first in our family to come here no ye ba ya dream nyina wo fie say ye pese ye ko back home nti ye bibi crampo na ye dream efie we are not thinking say ha na ye say in the moment nti we say ye bibi for ye ho wa ha me dem ho ye example like me ba ye no I was still thinking about going back home nti even course of study cry na me ye no na me dream ho say me ko ye we na me say be am kofi a me de be kwa say adwuma we na say me nye we I be boa me abra me wa ha no nti me ko school no a delay kakra nti no that's an example. Another one also ye in krata sebse ne nyina ya kan wa ha no say obi ba na so especially oni in krata e very difficult e manipa ko so obe excel adwuma wise education wise ne nyina e very challenging and also no because of that no poverty ebe like a burden for us.
Record until say mokasa dede no mohu nti moma yenya perfect yibi ebeba kotoso to aso
nti ohwemu a immigrants yeba especially first generation no ohwa oye multiple jobs oye more than one job oye 2 3 because minimum bi oye juma 7 days a week oye double nti no sometimes they're not even taking time to take care of omankasa omoho. Also because of responsibilities are ABA edaneso. ABA busuan wo efia omo twan no say ode bibi ebeba. But ABA second generation on ebusuan fo nyina wa hanom. Nti ono oni saa all some may have it but compared to obi oya first generation you can tell say nipa ko no a lot of challenges. Also no but for some a problem emma first generation immigrants especially because ebia wako school or table no by accent no and many confidence say ebia opportunities be kra wo hono ma obetimi call for those opportunities because ebia obaka say me brofo nye nti na no aka say lose confidence in themselves. Also, based on, like, I think say be mentioned or have resources, information, and as misinformation. Oba hanoma nipa ibi ababe so ene so no or no say ewe na me ya say me ye ejuma say no na menim nti oba no na me kyerɛ and I say obi a ono so onim say ebi call library and I saw call her obenya information on so many other things that you can do ebebo nti no based on the parkour ababe so ene so no and also about determine how far also you can go in life and information wise no I think say first generation for now ebano you need the resources now available to us in this country, you know. Into the obi beka yes obi say but unim say be obetimi akọ online na wankase wako Google na ebema so many other resources I obetimi go through. So be
that is big. That is big. Ignorance. Be your na resources ne die hon so na ye nim. Yo panelists, ebi ya no obi person jump in a panda ho. Mama men kan ba could be all him say one of the challenges facing as immigrants and what we call changing perception of the American natives, you know. Kaneno now back row now it's easy to integrate. And then it's not like that. Because of political perception is changing. I'm saying may research be Kaneno just say wabaha keke kura no utana cha keke won't me hu say we American and then what ya cha kura won hu say we American no sani am explain here e be so ni state and federal policies e be our policies ni be were fair kro bi ho kura you don't want to go there as immigrant hu say state bi ho because state bi ho wo mai na nya friendly kura nti wo ko wa wan ya hu akwa akocho ana em say minim senior na akan ya laissez-faire attitude no Yebeko fie nti ye was a laissez-faire attitude ne say oh ye de ye nkoso da but we betumi integrity but still no na wujina baby ya wujina. Okay doctor ya beba the last question na fidie yama enipa ni nyina kwan ema wo mo so abisa ye ensem ni bi. For the last question no, is it necessary? What are some of the solutions to all this? I may summarize this. What are some of the solutions?
Okay. To completely integrate, is not that easy, and it's almost impossible. As software kind, if you're among them, they can tell. They are able to tell the difference between us and them. The same way, they are able to tell that you are not one of them. We have a different way of speaking. Our understanding is kind of little different. Sometimes, at work, you will be thinking you are making a good statement, but somebody interprets it differently because you are not thinking in their terms, the way they frame things. And so the integration, you can integrate to a certain point, but to fully integrate, it's almost impossible. The Americans, they try to integrate the Native Americans. They did it for many years, and they are still doing it. They say you can take the boy from Africa, but you can't take Africa from the boy. And so no matter what we do, there are some kind of residual cultural values and stuff which is still in us. But from the Bible standpoint, we are strangers here. We are traveling home, which heaven is our home. And so first, we have to put that in our perspective, that whatever we do, our ultimate goal is to get into where? Heaven. Abraham did the same thing by faith. He lived in the promised land, but he lived there as somebody who was looking forward to that heavenly home, that place which was built by no human hands. That's where he was thinking about. So, Nyankopon bless Abraham ne nko for no but emra ye try to integrate, we have to put that first. And we see that The integration, it comes not just by chance. We have to learn because the culture is learned. Example, Nebuchadnezzar, Israel for boys and try to get them integrated, or they educated them for 3 years. We taught them literature and their culture and their language, just to integrate them so they would understand the way they think, the way they behave, and the way they do things. And you could tell me that Daniel never integrated fully because Daniel did not do things like they did.
Wow.
But Daniel rose to a high position because he understood their culture and how they do things. So we can also learn to understand how they do things and rise up in the ranks, but we cannot fully become like them. Now, as I'm talking, I know some people who, as a little boy, boys or girls, I knew as they were growing, Africans, and now they are in the Biden's, Biden's cabinet. They are as finance what and this what. They are Africans, they are first generations. But because they allow themselves to what? Integrate to a certain point, they have that confidence to be able to do that. Also, we have to, first thing, when we are here, we don't have to take for granted those green card or whatever, our papers. Because without that, you can't advance. It is very important. So if you don't know, ask and learn from people how you also can get the correct papers so you can advance. Because without the right papers, you can't even go to school. What are you doing going to school in somebody's name or what? And when you finish, it's somebody's paperwork. So you need to work hard to get that papers done. Also, we need to take chances, Sometimes we are afraid how to take chances, so you don't want to get in debt or something. And so you settle for the minimum. But if you had taken a leap of faith and taken a chance, you will be able to rise up where you'll be earning enough to take care of yourself and to pay the loans. And so business, we have to be of that kind of mentality where if God puts an idea in your mind, study it. I'm not saying take a blind leap, but study it, ask and research about it, and then you go into it and you will wonder how doors would open for you.
Amen.
We also know that sometimes, the way we learn is different. Back home, they kind of train us in order to memorize things. They call it chew, pour, pass, and what? Forget. We are very good. If you bring a Ghanaian here, he will be able to tell you how everything works. But if you give him that thing to work it, they can't. That is something which goes against us over here. So when we are studying, we have to be able to get to the hands-on level. If you're doing computer science, you have to learn how to work the computers. Not just the theory that this connect to here and you do that's this and this, that's this, and you could lecture about it, but you yourself cannot. This is the same reason why Ghanaians, we have doctors and whatever in architecture and stuff, but they will go and bring somebody from Europe to kind of design the city for them, because we are not hands-on people the way our education was designed. And so while we have the opportunity here, we have to kind of change things, that wherever we find ourselves, whatever we are doing, try to be in depth in it, how it works, how to work it, so that when we have the opportunity, we can rise. I have a nephew who is a computer engineer, and he hires people. And he tells me, the people come and they could tell you all the theory, but if you give them, write this code, they can't. You know, so when you are going to school, make sure you do the best so that when you're out there, you can compete with anybody. And so it's not just the theory, but they know how to do things. And as we know, the language things, we have all talked about it. We need to kind of improve ourselves in the language. Some of us, we came when we already have formed, our tongue is formed, and so the accent is difficult to modify it, especially for me. I have lived in many countries, and that caused more confusion, you know. I open my mouth, and sometimes I'm thinking in Spanish, sometimes I'm thinking in another language, and, you know, and so it kind of brings confusion. But we have to be able to kind of focus and try to learn the language appropriately so they would accept us into their circles. That way they would have confidence to promote us to, or to give us, dedicate something to us which we could do because they understand us.
Wonderful. I think that today we have learned a lot. Dr. Asamba, I can be him forever. Any your learning styles, you know. Ose ye no sani aye learning chew and point no ye ba ha class ani etie enti obeko school no ko ye engineer nso ye ko yo engineer na ye akofa China ni because all the adwuma no man hands on no ontumi nye enti we futuo ni say ye ko school aye change your mentality no na ye forget about exams no say Ghana ni the exams no person twa a practicals no nsuya ye we dey ye futuo kese ma hu se moto aye hye enti ensu onso chatu amu a na bon enti ye bema ma bisa questions kakra na afei kwa me ma hu sakra wosoro doda ma hu doctor ansonsa e wosoro kofi papa nsa wosoro enti mo fa mic ne nko me ma wo mo nsa mic no ye de ba ko asi ha e na ba ko nso ba ko asi ha enti no ye pam chan ye we de yes kofi doctor why are there 85 around my year. Now, you just 4 questions, 4 important questions. 80 kuku, salient, short. Now you to me answer nothing, you move on.
Mine is more of a contribution to the subject.
Yes.
Reason anti-Amma integration, no, first generation from the fallback, no, yeah. The need. Perhaps the urgent need to close the expectation gap. See, you come from home, from Africa, with poverty looking at you, demands here and there, desperation. You come here and you want to be as useful to the people you left behind as possible. You can do that by remitting them, by doing this, by doing that. Emma, attention na mama America create na me can experience be me nya London church, London SDA church. Na me go bank, our Ghana, me course, our London. And my brother de me call na sorry Adventist church, first Ghana. Ye wie ye no, ye yi me kire ye. Na papa ba ko ye pone asoro no abene na ho pese obi a ko no ni mbedi nkomo. Obi akwa no bae bema kama was oh me hu musi ane mani agye so na me wira ho me say adan was be 14 years ago from that time no 14 years before then and one na yere ti wona kwanya bi ba say ontu kwan emra London na na yere man kwan kwa na bia na watimi anya bibia ba na de asidan ni efra busu afie mu akotena ha since 14 years and I'm still struggling. Mene me yere kasa na wo su. Wose nya bra. Se me kon makonisi afi na me kwatena busu afi. See, so the need to fill that, to bridge that expectation gap. Dear, what dear the buyer or pesika dia koye no. E ma no so no wontimi integrate, wontimi no bia anya we focus say sa adwuma no. And now our person will nyesika edukokoye. Enti we yes answer. One papa, but anti-mount integrating.
Wonderful.
The next issue, integration also has its own problems. some time ago, because Kofi Nia Penny was Arizona, Phoenix. And Arizona for SDA, I saw that, come on, to free Methodist for Methodist for now, I brought for more sorry. Into I saw a good, almost it's no longer viable. Na Ghana SDA for Koto. Na saw down boarding, Alpha, now Snana boarding. Tiakakra, and the Diaka too much get down my own. And I'm in Kolani be dim commodity. Monsieur Maminum. Ani ebanuma omu de omu omakwa jika betua da bomo ka se ye na omu jika ni beja ami abetua. You see, if you don't take care and you don't work hard, a time will come your children will not be coming to church. That is one of the basic problems of integration. A time will come wa ufri Ghana ba ye na wo ye panyin no wodi wodim de entra do abeduru ha. What you say? Wonim ahohiahia bi mu awo ani nyame awo ho to no so ya
recordo
nyame awo ho to no so enti e bia wadu abeduru abrochire ha and you want to come to church and praise your God and do that, but your child who you gave birth to over here has become a different person. Oh how no onisa or how no be to one hwe ye be kakra no nobody here fully integrated ma sorry said ye abrofu na wa ha no ma enkwa sorry no sa no wa hwe yi a mo so ebetum. So what is the way forward? I'm ending. The way forward, one language learning, kasa, so but transfer kasa na maba. And the second most important reason, point is cultural assimilation. We're interested in football. Yeah, I'm French national team. French folk about footballer.
Blacks and
bet me as many as 7 blacks. Not 4 or 5 abrofu. Why? It was because of the French policy of assimilation. Yeah, but even why black Frenchman. And some open year more encourage assimilation in a way. Some man will be fully integrated. But whilst getting fully integrated, they must also retain their Ghanaianness. So he becomes a man of 2 worlds. What the fire will be? What the fire will be? So your child will become an American, but you will not be lacking. Now, person who are Ghana ni there will be a problem. Oh, person who are American ni there's a problem. There are some parents who are worried when their children cannot slang. A problem. And Mr. Ramo, Yansha said, "Yeah, French force young there. Not in a way, young fans about you move on along on 2 legs." Thank you very much.
Okay. And you better taking one more. Mahu say, opening Cassia when him Hantino, Yenti no Nafi. Maybe my friend at the Leicester, Emma at the Leicester. Miss Ramo time Nuntino, one a mobile blame me sent Miss G2. Now you are my friend at the Leicester because there's something put in view also and Tessie and the mom.
I'm saying, opening as man, I'm a cannot can be. Yeah, first generational immigrants, you know. Yakaya, Emra na Yusano, now we were disciplined by our parents. Into something we call respect, no pen more na ubuno pa. It was something that most first generational immigrants, you know. Second generational immigrants, you know, because of the American system, you know, there were even some stereotype here. Yes, a brochure color, which is true. All the opportunities almost started pre-K, they go to a higher level education, whatever profession, no money. My attaining, how do we inculcate the spirit of discipline in them? Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. A chrome ha, what the abako can call a advantage of the American opportunity system. That was say.
Yeah, Nanka maybe can 6 ways. Say even school train the children. In education, you're afraid